Before we begin the video, I just want to show you we have these elm trees for sale, Chinese lacebark elm. It's well implemented, it's easy to maintain. After you clip a few times, it will become quite a magnificent tree that's for your liking. Please go to our website. Now you can order it directly from there. Let's continue with the video. Hi, I'm miltonchang of Bonsaiheirloom. I like to work on this Prostrata Juniper. I bought it at an auction about 3 years ago. And I just hesitate to work on it because it's got so much growth, and I really hate to take off these branches that are really kind of out of the place, and yet you hate to remove it. And that is one of the dilemma you face when you work on an old tree. You almost hate to change it, and yet if you don't, it will never be right. So today I decided to work with you since I've done so many video of starting juniper, and you often feel that I cut my tree so drastically that I'm not being kind to my tree. But in fact, what can you do without being drastic in order to get it to the right design? So today I will be fairly drastic in the cutting, but not in a sense of drastic to remove a lot of the foliage, so that it will get to the final full pads much more quicker. And one particular branch that bugs me a lot, you can see this branch coming down in the lower branch is very nice, as you expect an old tree. And this branch is also coming down. You really hate to cut it off, and yet, you see this tree should be kept on the top, and this part should be coming down. So this should not be coming down to, in some sense, confuse the design. And yet, for the longest time, I hate to cut it. So what I would do is, as a compromise, I make it into a jin, and then see how that looks. And then I'll gradually reduce the rest of it to improve the look. And one other tree this person did that I don't do is that he saves a lot of the branches and make them into jin, a small jin even. And that actually created a nice feature. I don't do that really well. So I'll try to follow his lead a little bit to do that, to learn how to do that. You know, live and learn, never too old to learn. You got to learn, old dogs have to learn new tricks. So with that in mind, then I'll start to work on this tree by shortening this branch. And I probably should even just leave it alone for now by making it into a jin. For sure, I don't want this to be drooping in the back and this one drooping in the front. So I will make that into a jin. You can see when the tree is actively growing, it's really easy to peel the bark off and make it into a jin. Whereas if you're trying to do it in the winter time, it's really a pain. It would be a lot of scraping, and it doesn't quite come off right. And since this branch is going back, you can see the bottom one, he made it into a very nice little white jin. And I will try to emulate that. Over time, I'll put lime sulfate on it to make it look white. But in the meantime, it will turn white, but not the pure white, but more of a natural white, like old rotten branches. And I think he did a really good job in making all the little branches into jin, which I don't quite have the patience to. But, to each his own. Doesn't say he's right or I'm wrong, or, but he's definitely looking very good in what he does. So jin is kind of a compromise between a growing branch and a bare branch in the sense of cutting off with an empty space. And I think that adds to the age of the tree, which is a nice feature. So jin is a technique that the Japanese bonsai craftsmen, that's how they refer to bonsai masters, come up with to make their bonsai look nice. And we should learn from that. We don't care where the idea come from. If it's good, we adopt it, right? I think the gentleman that owned the tree before, he's very careful in making these dead branches by peeling these thin branches off, and then they eventually become like that. Very admirable, which I need to learn. The patience to do that and the perseverance to do that. Learn from everybody. A technique is a technique. There are some really good European bonsai traditionalists. They learn from the Japanese masters religiously, as many of the German culture or European culture. People are very serious about craftsmen. If they learn from the Japanese bonsai books or bonsai master, a lot of them actually went to take classes in Japan to learn the technique, and then they improve on it. So I really like many of the bonsai masters in Europe, especially in Germany, in Italy, and in France, and in England, really, actually. There's some really good bonsai masters that for us to learn from. And I don't think you need to peel perfectly clean, let a little bit remaining to in fact show how it would occur in nature. So I'm going to quit peeling and get on the main design, and maybe not come and peel off the rest of it at a later time, so as not to take up your time. So I'm trying to create paths here. That would take a little time to fill out, but in a 6 months, the paths will be quite full, and for me to do the next stage of development. Now, like all trees, I should begin with the top, but I was preoccupied with this branch and then work my way down. So I got to study the tree to design an apex. It does not matter too much. This looks like the top. And again, I'll do a little bit of rough cutting to get it to shape. Otherwise, I just can't get there. And more or less, in addition to the really, really rough, drastic cut, basically I'm saying to poodle each of the pads to rough shape, and then I will start, instead of a cutting, I will pinch it to shape. And that's the process. You do a very rough and drastic cutting to shape the basic design, and then you do the pruning, the poodling to shape the pad, to form the rough shape of the pad, and then you pinch it to complete the formation of the pads. And when you do that, the pads tend to look very natural. So this is the apex. That's coming up, the apex. Then I cut down the below, lower. And then these are the other branches on the side. And so this is the, in some sense, the second rough cut on a mature tree. And then I will work to find the refinement of the pads the next time around. I will not do nearly as drastic a cut next time. Each time you cut less until you only do pinching. So I avoided cutting this tree, working on this tree for almost 3 years so I can think about it rather than do something I regret to an old tree. I really have a lot of respect for old trees. You know, somebody spends so much energy training it with some design idea. I need to capitalize on it, not just a brute force, hey, force it my way, but rather a compromise between what the previous owner had in mind and what I have in mind for it. And that's the kind of compromise you need to make to optimize. So this part looks bare, but when this comes out, it will be a nice pad to my liking. And like this part should not be also going up. should rather be going down. So let me remove a lot of this and make it into a chin over here. See if that idea will work. I think that idea may be nice because there's a branch below that's more conform to this one, and yet the chin is the compromise between what it should be. It should be an empty space. So I will make this part into a chin, and then the bottom part into a green. So the chin in this case is kind of the top of the tree died off in a very beautifully green, healthy growing tree, but a piece of it died off due to the lightning struck or something. Whatever you do with your bonsai, you got to be able to tell a story about what nature has done to it. Be it seeking light or hit by lightning or wind sweat or something. Because bonsai is about not your fantasy, but rather your fantasy simulating nature, what it would have happened in nature given certain occurrence. And that's what bonsai is all about. That's so beautiful that it can be totally natural and conform to what nature would have done. And that's what bonsai is all about. It's conforming to nature, emulate nature, but in a miniature form in your living room. And again, I think bonsai can be in your living room, just not permanently, but in your living room for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, or even a month at a time, and then recycle with something that's grown outdoor while let it rejuvenate, reactivate out in the full sun or in a partial shade anyway. I really can't tell what these will grow, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of rough clipping and let nature tell me what it wants to do. So next time I can make the pad accordingly. So you have a tree that's the apex. That's a little too high. Maybe I cut it here. Let the apex starts about here. And then these are the branches coming down. Here's a dead branch hit by the lightning. And this one is dead, and I can not peel it very well. So, and then this branch continue to go its shape. And then this one, I can see it is kind of again, way too long. And it's taking up a lot of space. So let me see. I think this could be dead. I'm actually creating a lot more chin than I normally do. And that's because in respect of the gentleman or the lady that developed this bonsai, that has put so much energy into making beautiful jins, I want to compliment her work by also creating some jins. So I'm going to go overboard in creating the jins to complement her work. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video so far. We got a lot more going on. This is about halfway. Please click like if you like my content, and subscribe to our channel, tell a friend, and more importantly, go to our website and sign up to become our VIP for goodies. To create a chin, it's kind of, you don't necessarily have the room for turning the chin maker. So what you can do, you can just press down on it to crush the bark, and then it makes it very easy to peel. So that's a kind of a two-step process. You can see these all come off pretty easily after I crunch down on it to crush it, the bark, and to separate the bark from the wood. So this good tree could very well be owned by a lady, and the reason is that the person really have a lot of patience to make the tiny little jins, And I really appreciate the labor of love. That's why I'm trying to emulate that to create some rhyme, so to speak, in a sense of a synchronism or synergism or coherence to the previous design, which is to have a few very fine jins. That means not just the rough breaking off the bark. So that's a jin. Again, I can just crush the bark without twisting because there's no room to twist, and that makes the bark really easy to peel after that. So these are a little technique. Nice to hear about it, but don't take a big deal. Just think about it, and you would have done it naturally yourself as well. No big deal with all these techniques that people make such a big deal of and create hundreds of rules that makes bonsai not such an enjoyable hobby. So now you can see that's roughly the first cut of the design at the top. It created an impression of a rough environment at the top of a mountain with a lot of stuff breaking off with a struck by lightning, etc. Makes an interesting story, and when you look at it, it's very pleasant later on. So now let me work on the lower branches. Again, there's so much growth, which is the good thing, and at the same time, it's a kind of a, again, I think I would, it doesn't take me much to make a jin. So again, I'll create a little bit more jin than I normally do in honor of the previous owner. So I hope if you ever want to get up your tree, please sell them to me because I will take good care of them. And I will treat them with respect, taking into consideration your design thoughts, and in some sense, your love for the tree will live on forever. So when you work on an old tree, be somewhat sensitive to the thoughts of the previous owner, not just say, oh, well, it looks like a piece of what, and then just brute forcefully modify it. Give it some thought. There may be some good thinking behind it. Like I'm creating a lot more jin than I normally do, again, out of respect for the previous owner, because he or she did the jin so well. And, this branch is running into that one. So I would respectfully cut off or make this part into a jin. Again, creating a lot more jin, making jin a feature of this tree, and which is something I don't normally do. So you got to constantly challenge yourself and innovate and do things differently so that you don't become a bore. I'm not sure I know what I'm doing here, but I'm just standing off to give me more design opportunities later. And so that's all I'm doing. Because individual branch is really hard to judge what I need to do at this point, because I need to thin it off. Like this branch is going this way, so this definitely becomes a jin. The top is really a problem. You can see this branch is really nice, but it's so dense that it hides the tree in terms of beauty, because that branch is really nice too. So, and then you got this branch. So I'll make this into a jin also. I'm sorry to go overboard on the jin, but on the other hand, when you make lemonade, you don't argue about the jin if that's a preventative opportunity to make your tree look distinctive. So this tree can maybe, I don't mean quite that, but can be someday be, named Mr. Jin. Sounds like a Korean name because it's got so much emphasis on jin, which is quite unusual for most bonsai tree. But hey, what the heck, you know, you're here to make a distinctive bonsai. And I'm no alternative, but the person before me grew it so dense, which I think hid the beauty of this tree. So I'm just removing it to kind of uncover its natural beauty of all the curves and all of the stuff that's already in existence. And instead of cutting off the branch to make it into a little stub chin, I'm peeling it to make it into more of a branch chin, which is more rare, and that also gives it more of a feature to be qualified as a chin emphasis tree, a tree that emphasizes chin. I'm using every opportunity to create chin so that this tree will have lots of chins to be different. Most trees will not have that much chin. You can see this little wire remain from the good old days. It's totally grown into the branch. So I just cut it off. I can't unwind it without tearing up the entire branch. Yeah, I'm just cutting off a lot of the branches to have the green start over again. Kind of the beginning, the drastic pruning to start over again, let it grow out. The cut and grow method basically is removal and then let it build up again. Okay, so the front is it's all done almost. So now I work on the back side. So you can see now I have kind of like make this into a tree empire by itself. And then I gotta work on the back as a separate one and make the two harmonize. So you can see, even from the back, you can see that's a nice tree with green and with a lot of chin to show that the roughness of the nature that it had lived through. And now I want to work on this part to rhyme into the other part of the tree. And so I will work on this side first. Like this branch is really nice coming down. And I don't think this tree wants to be a double trunk in a sense with this coming up to kind of compete. On the other hand, why don't I try that? And it may just look nice someday, and then I have something very different. So with that in mind then, I'll save this top growth to make it into kind of a double trunk to rhyme with this one. So like, you're the king of the hill, and I'm the king of the hill on my side of the tree, which the nature will often do, which is just fine. I'm being a little bit of a silly, but you can see the kind of rationale trying to justify what the tree looks like, somewhat be explainable. So you can see this is a little mini apex, right, to rhyme with that tree. Someday this could be a little mini apex, which already cut off this one, but this can come up, be a mini apex. So there'll be three on top, which sometimes happens in nature because one branch doesn't know what the other side is doing and have its own apex, which is why not, you know? Now, this branch is going into the other way. In reality, it should be growing away from the tree. So I'll try to find a branch that's going sideways, which I'm not sure I can find. And also, I'm not sure I want this to be going up. So I cut it off and make that into a chin. And then this one really is kind of like charging off. These two branches should really be going down, and maybe a little bit of this, but even this one it's questionable, but let me keep it for a little while longer. You see what I mean? The tree tends to grow away from the tree, so it wouldn't be going backwards. And then this one's kind of okay. Let me keep it for a while, but I don't want it to go backwards either. So I start over again by clipping it off here, and then try to make this branch go this way. It should not be going back onto the tree. It doesn't look right because it should be reaching the other way to seek light. So respectful of the previous owner, I wound up creating a lot of jim to rhyme with his tree. And the same thing with this branch. See, this is a dead branch, and in a sense a jin. This is a dead branch going that way. So I'll make this one a dead branch going that way as part of the rhythm. So you can see the design is actually based on design principles, which I'm not an artist, I'm faking it, but it's all by reasoning. So what the nature is gonna, all the branches will seek light in the same direction. I never thought I'm gonna create so many jin. I don't think I've done it to any of my trees. But as I work on this tree, you gain inspiration. How do I show respect to the previous owner and show respect to the tree by rhyming with what is already there, which is a lot of jin, and to show that it has survived a rugged nature, which is admirable, and you want to accentuate that and celebrate that, the tenacity for survival. So now you have this tree, and I'm almost done. And I think traditionalists will have this pad, and this pad, and this pad. I think this is too dense. So I actually like this pad here that's on top. Then this pad is shaded by this. It may or may not survive. So I make it dead to make it look more natural rather than very, very dense. It doesn't make any sense. You have a struggling tree in nature, and it's growing so densely because it's got so much rich everything. It doesn't. And so with that in mind then, what I'll do is just do a casual clipping, like poodling this part. And then next time, I will pinch it to make the pads more natural looking. But in the meantime, I thin it out a bit and then leave room for the pads. I think this branch looks really nice, and this looks nice, so okay. Let it be. The branches should really not be, bonsai folks tend to take pride in their ability to maintain the tree and to keep them really full. A struggling tree in nature really isn't very full, but it's very picturesque. And so we should make an attempt to recreate that. And so my trees are not very full for that reason, because I believe in that. It's not because I don't have the technique to keep them very green. So you can see this branch is nice by itself, and then this is nice, but this is too much. So I'll cut it because that's totally shading the one below, or else I keep this one and cut the bottom one, make the bottom one jin. I prefer to do it this way. So let me just turn this one into a jin. I'm going to just go overboard in creating jins. Might as well to make it drastic. So today what I did is I took this tree, Prostrata juniper I bought at an auction about 3 years ago now. And it was a very nice tree. Somebody spent a lot of effort doing it. But I think it was really kind of dense, so that really many of the beautiful features are hidden. And the branches, you really hate to cut it because each branch is done so well. And yet if you don't, then it hides the beauty of the other branches. So I did a drastic cutting, but in respect to the previous bonsai owner, I made a lot of jins, which I don't normally do, as a way to complement the tree, because that tree has a lot of jins previously. And I hope this tree will turn out okay. I believe it will. If nothing else, let the bird fly through. In a sense, you can see the structure of the tree rather than all hidden by foliage. I hope you'll follow this bonsai because I think it's really an old bonsai. Somebody probably worked on that for 25, 30, 40, 50 years. And then I have the fortune to own it, and I'm redesigning it to make a next step of improvement, quote unquote improvement based on my preference. That doesn't mean it's any better, but hopefully it is. And please stay tuned to keep track of the progress of the tree. I should show you this tree every 6 months or so. I will try to do a little bit more subsequent, in a sense, follow up on the previous tree to give you a sense how trees develop, I think, which is a good way to learn, and I think most people will like that. So I thank you very much for watching. If you like my video, please click like to give me some encouragement, and tell a friend I need to increase our subscription base. Send us your email address. And if you have a photo or a question or suggestion of what the videos you'd like to see me do, send me an email to Milton@bonsaiheirloom, which we will put in the email address so that you can do so, and I will try to comply. So thank you very much. I hope this bonsai community, bonsai heirloom community, is helpful and useful to you. So please stay tuned as I see you next week. Well, thank you very much for watching today's video. Subscribe to our channel and tell a friend. And most importantly, go to our website and sign up to become our VIP so that we can send you announcements of special considerations. Thank you very much. See you next week.